Welcome to Melt. I'm Suresh Venkat. Change is afoot at Ogilvy India. This week, the agency announced leadership transitions that will come into effect from January 2024. Piyush Pandey, who serves as current chairman of Global Creative and executive chairman of Ogilvy India, will move to a chief advisor role. Rane, Group Executive Co-Chairman India and COO South Asia, will take up the role of business advisor to Ogilvy South Asia. Hepzibah Pathak is set to be Executive Chairperson at Ogilvy India, while VR Rajesh will take over as CEO of the agency. Finally, Ogilvy India's three CCOs, Harshad, Kainaz and Sukesh, will join the Ogilvy India board along with the agency's Chief Strategy Officer, Prem Narayan. To know more, we are in conversation with Devika Bulchandani, the CEO of Ogilvy Worldwide, and Piyush Pandey. What do these changes mean for the agency and for its clients? Let's find out as we get ready to melt with Devika and Piyush. Devika, Piyush, welcome to Melt. Now, I've heard everything you've said at the press conference. I've read the press release. I'm going to ask you this question nevertheless. This set of leadership changes is a clear-cut succession plan at Ogilvy India. Am I right to say that?
Absolutely. It's something that Piyush and I have talked about for a while. The team that we've identified to take over right now, they've been here, I think we said a collective of 140 years. Mm-hmm. So when you think about a leadership change or succession, one of the best things that can happen is it's something that's been in the works. It's leaders who are part of the fabric of this company, because Ogilvy is a culture that runs very deep, right? So we feel absolutely incredible about it, or the way I like to talk about it is to say, I'm 120 over 80.
All right. Piyush, it's not very often that people use your name without saying the word legendary before it, right? I know it makes you uncomfortable, legendary Piyush Pandey. What does it take to groom a successor?
Just an open field, just respect. Just respect, not just for the individual, for the work that they do. And all the work that you've seen in the last 6-7 years, it's the work of these people. And if you put a blind eye to that, then you must be stupid. So they were all ready to do that. That's why Devika and I were discussing here. Now they're no longer the bench strength. They are the strength.
Okay. And as advisor, what's your new role going to be?
I think the best way to describe it is that it's not a position of authority. Not that I was doing a position of authority earlier.
Okay.
It is a position of advising, cautioning, mentoring, and being around to wherever they seek help, or wherever you think they need help. So, is anything going to change very much? I think the only thing that changes is that I have handed over captaincy, but not the playing.
Okay. Devika, Piyush has spent, 40 years in Ogilvy?
41.
41. What does a post-Piyush Ogilvy look like to you?
Well, I don't know how to answer that question, because at this moment, it is not a post-Piyush Ogilvy.
Okay.
Right? Because Piyush is very much there.
Okay.
He's just changing the role that he's going to play. He's not just been an advisor for the local team of India. He's been a key advisor for me as I've taken on this role to learn about the Ogilvy culture. So he's still on speed dial for all of us. So I don't know how to answer that question.
And for all of your clients as well?
And for all the clients.
Okay. Piyush, what are your expectations from the new Executive Chairperson Hepzibah and new CEO Rajesh?
If we didn't have those great expectations, we wouldn't have taken that call. They are absolute rock stars. I mean, maybe we delayed it by 6 months. They're that ready.
Let's talk about Harshad, Kainaz and Sukesh. They've been handling creative duties for a while now, like you said. What does their elevation to the board signal, not just to the creative fraternity at Ogilvy, but to the creative fraternity across?
I think to the companies, more than the creative fraternity. I'll come to creative fraternity after that. To the companies, it means that people who create the work on which your business exists, those people should be involved in the policy making of the company, in decisions that impact everybody. And to the industry, I think they should recognize more creative people. That's Devika and I always talk about it, that end of the day, whatever we do, whatever research we do, what the consumer sees is what you did. And we can't compromise on that. I think it should be a good signal. The very fact that your policy making is not just about creative. You are the team that will have a point of view on everything, on how people live, how people stay, how Ogilvy should move forward. So it's a much more compact board than I've seen for a long time.
I think one of the things that I always say that makes Ogilvy unique is creative is not a department. It is our business.
So everybody has to be creative. CEO, creative person,
And
CFO,
creative people,
everybody.
and our creative people and our creative leaders have to have a seat at the table
Okay,
when it comes to how our business is run.
okay.
And if you look at Hepsi,
She's a creative soul.
she's a creative soul. She's the woman on Zuzu. She's the woman behind the pug. I mean, you don't have to be a writer yourself. Can you be an appreciation person?
Devika, Ogilvy recently celebrated its 75th birthday, and you're leading a legacy firm. What does it feel like? Is it like a heavy burden that you carry?
I won't say burden because that has negative connotations and it feels heavy. I'd say, yes, it's a responsibility, but a responsibility that I feel very enthused by and excited by. I always say, for this industry to be doing well, Ogilvy needs to be flying high because we've always led the way. Whatever the future of our industry is, right? I mean, when it was 360 marketing, Ogilvy led the way. When, what are sort of the different areas that we talk about today? Influencer marketing, we're the most awarded global agency. When we talk about social and content, we are leading the way there as well. When we just talk about the fact that we're in this business to create creative solutions for our clients, we lead the way.
Ogilvy leads in many countries and is the challenger or disruptor in other countries. Do you have a different approach to the countries in which you lead and in the countries in which you're a challenger?
The common mission for wherever we are, and we're in 93 countries, right, to be at the top of our game. And one of the things I always say is to say, if we play like champions, the outcomes will just sort of happen in itself. But I will say that one of the most important things that I talk about to everybody is not where we stand in terms of our ranking, but it's what we bring to the table, what we bring to our clients. And this notion of hunger, hustle, heart is very, very important. And humility, by the way, it says that is very, very important. So it's not, are we on top of, when you're in 93 countries, there's going to be some sort of very difference. But how we show up, whether we're on top of our game in one country or we're being the challenger or we're being the disruptor, it's how we show up and the consistency of that, to me, is what's the most important thing.
Hunger, hustle, heart and humility.
Yes.
Piyush, how would you describe Devika's opening innings as CEO?
All those 4 H's. No, it's fantastic because she's just the third worldwide CEO as a lady who doesn't wear that on her sleeve. She wears that in her heart. And that's, I think, the best way of describing it. And if your heart is in the right place, and if your ambition is in the right place, there's nothing stopping you.
Reverse question, Devika. 1 year at the top job, what has it taught you about yourself?
I don't know how to answer your question about what it's taught me about myself, but it's taught me a lot about how to lead an organization that I've come into as sort of the outsider, right? I had to come in and I had to learn about Ogilvy, as opposed to coming in and saying I had the answers, because this is a legacy organization that has deep roots. I had to come in and make myself an insider, as opposed to coming in and just assuming because I have a position on the title.
Was that tough, making yourself an insider?
I don't think it was tough. I somehow felt an affinity, and Shelley always tells me, Shelley Lazarus, she'll always tell me, she's like, you're more Ogilvy than people who've been here. I somehow just felt like I belonged, but it was a conscious effort not to come in and assume that just because I had a title and just because I had a position, I would get all, the respect or something. And I didn't assume that. I came in with a very definitive attitude to say, how am I going to earn that? Because this organization is a very deep legacy organization. And I think, sometimes when you come into these kinds of organization and you get organ rejection, it's because you come in thinking you know everything. Right? So when I talk about hunger, hustle, heart and humility, those are genuine
values
things
that you embody.
Absolutely genuine.
Piyush, you've always said it's never technology first, idea first, and whatever follows, follows. Are you worried with AI, especially large language models like ChatGPT, that it could become tech first?
Not worried at all.
It can write campaigns for you, it can suggest ideas to you.
It can suggest ideas, but I'm the one who will say is good enough or not.
Okay. So human judgment is still going to play.
Human
How do you
judgment,
teach this to young creatives though?
I think it will take a little bit of effort, and maybe it needs to tell them that, so where did you come into the party? Somebody else did it for you. What is your touch? And I think everyone puts his own touch. That's the way it will be. And young people will realize that you can also do, he can also do, I can also do. So where did I come into the picture? Did I improve the technology in some way? No, I'm not scared of it, but I don't believe that that's the answer. The answer is embrace technology, but don't stop thinking ideas.
Yeah, I always say artificial intelligence without human imagination will only lead to mediocrity.
Devika, various reports and interviews tell us that one of your goals was to grow Ogilvy's consulting services. How is that going?
It's going incredibly well. The way we look at it is we do have 5 businesses. We have a health business. We have obviously a very large and globally recognized advertising business. We have an incredible social PR and influence business. We have a consulting business, and we have Ogilvy One, which is our digital experience business. So the way we look at consulting, it's actually the superpower, right? Or it's the jet fuel that charges all the other 4. So you may have read that we won, the Verizon business in the US, which is a large piece of business. Consulting was the jet fuel that was really sort of supercharging it. So we've really been looking at everything that we do where consulting becomes the jet fuel. So as opposed to just saying, am I growing the consulting business? I like to look at it to say, when we put consulting into anyone, how do we turbocharge?
But you are competing with consulting giants on the consulting front.
Yeah, you know what happens? What the traditional consulting companies do is they leave the big fat deck of what any...
I've seen those decks.
Yeah, you've seen those decks.
500 slides.
And then they say, see you, thank you, give us a multi-million-dollar check and we're out.
And we're not responsible for results.
We're not, and we are not responsible for execution and nor are we responsible for results.
Yeah.
And that's when Ogilvy Consulting comes in.
Okay.
Because what Ogilvy Consulting does is takes that
see it to the end.
And they see it to the end. And because then we can also be the execution arm, right? Because whatever aspect of marketing that you need to, or actually not just marketing, but digital transformation with all our WPP sister companies, we can actually execute.
Piyush, what about Indian clients? Are they similar to the kind of needs that Devika said Verizon has, that they need both consulting and an advertising solution?
See, markets will differ from the size of the big clients like Verizon. There are smaller clients here, but the value of consulting is a little different. Consulting to me is understanding and partnering and taking it to the last mile, as she said. So yes, it exists everywhere. If a client believes that you are interested in their business, that you are thinking beyond just the work that you're doing, that's consulting. So it's no different. It may not be that huge, but it is there. It's always been there.
Arguably, you would understand Pidilite's business as well as Pidilite themselves understand the business. How often are you called in to weigh in on a business decision, which may not be an advertising decision?
Yeah, I sit on the board.
Okay.
So I'm...
But you're not the advertising guy on the board. You are the strategy guy on the board. You're the creative guy on the board.
Everything. I'm in matters of factory safety. I'm asked for my point of view if I have one. So yes, in clients like Pidilite, I play that role even when I was not on the board, because you are almost like, it's like a family where you are a consultant.
Next question is about talent, both global and at a local level. Devika, first, advertising used to be the coolest of all professions. Is it still so?
I absolutely believe that. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here. You know, it's a passion industry. So what do I mean by a passion industry? I think advertising, unlike a lot of industries, like people go to college and say, I'm going to be a lawyer because it's a lucrative business and, I'm going to be an investment banker. I'm going to work 80 hours a week and I'm going to make my first year $100 and so $1,000. Whenever anybody comes into advertising, they don't come with that perspective. They say, I want to go into advertising because I'm going to be a part of culture, because I'm going to make something that is going to move the world forward, move business forward. Because I want to be part of an ecosystem and a group of people that are interesting, that think in certain ways. So I would say it's a passion industry.
But passion doesn't pay rent, passion doesn't pay bills, and you're young
But
creators
by the way,
need to.
the truth is, early on in our industry, yes, you don't make the same amount of money. That's why I call it a passion industry, because if you are pure pursuit of making money, then in the beginning it
Perhaps
doesn't.
this is not for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
But can you make money having a career in advertising? Yes, you can.
We have all lived it.
Yeah.
It's not just the instantaneous first year fresher
No,
getting
it doesn't.
hired for
It just, and I tell this
millions
to
of
young
dollars.
people to say, if you're looking for the first year to make money, like, I don't know what to say. It's just that.
And I think what she's saying is absolutely correct. The first 2-3 years, if we try and recall our lives, it was to do some work, then you could take the work home.
And show
And
it
say,
off in
"Yeah,
Yeah, but
see
that's
what
why
I
the
did."
passion is, that's why the passion is important, right?
What about India, Piyush? We have a huge number of startups in India and a lot of advertising folk I know have joined startups as their in-house agencies. Are the startups giving the agencies a run for their money when it comes to talent, or agencies are still?
No, agencies have to be smart to see where is the startup blowing up money and will come back to you later. And where is it that you can add value to make it into something which is not just a startup, but something which is rolling. I keep talking to startups very often, and I tell them that don't talk about your capitalized thing. Talk about your market share. Otherwise, you're blowing up money.
Yeah. But this is, I mean, there's so much prognosticating about, exodus from advertising or the death of advertising. I'm sorry, but there's a new agency that comes up every day, right? When we look at the industry at large, we do post growth. It's not like as an industry that you're seeing year over decline. Media spending, yeah, I mean, are there dips and ups and downs? That's in
And
any,
changes in patterns as well of media spending.
yeah, of course, right? But like, I don't know, I don't sit here and go, oh, doom and gloom. No, we're a vibrant industry. We're a very vibrant industry. I'm not sitting here and saying we have a dearth of talent, that I can't find great people. You have to be a great agency to find great people.
Okay.
And on your question about startups, I think they have to be careful. Otherwise, we'll move into .com era.
And we're already seeing some
Yeah,
signs of
yes.
that with poor governance at some
Yes,
startups
yeah.
and causing trouble. On the other hand, Piyush, how do you tackle burnout? Because during the COVID years and post, there has been a toll on mental health at various employees.
I think the best way is the most human way. When you see somebody under stress, reach out. Reach out, keep that person occupied, keep that person involved somewhere. See, burnouts happen when you're depressed from inside, that I'm not moving anywhere. And in a agency or any team as such, it is your role that if you get the feeling that I'm burning out, it is your role to put your hand on my shoulder and say, life is still there.
Okay.
So there are no scientific things. It's very human. What happens in your home when you're looking down and out?
Somebody comes and cheers
Somebody
you up.
notices it. Hey, you're looking down and out.
Typically, a mother does.
Yes.
Right?
So I think there is no science to it. There is just existence of a human being and relationship.
But I do think it's important for us to talk about it.
At an institutional level, create a mechanism.
Because when you have conversations and you normalize things, it's easy to reach out. And the other thing I will say is, I think these conversations, we also have to involve our clients in, right? Because a lot of what happens with burnout is crazy timelines and
meeting expectations of those very clients.
And it's like something needs to happen. And, the constant veil of if you don't do it by tomorrow, the client's going to... So I think we have to have
That's true.
conversations together, because to me...
And clients are open to that, in your view?
I think we have to have them, yes. And I think most clients at the most...
They're human beings.
They're human beings. I've never had a
If you have
conversation
gone to
with
somebody and say, any one of us goes to our clients and says, yeah, listen, your best guys are going down.
because
It needs a little bit of a healing touch from you. They will all step in.
I've never... Exactly. I've never had an experience where they've said absolutely not.
Okay.
But we need, when we have conversations about our industry, we are not an industry without our clients. The ecosystem doesn't work. So I always say to, it's like we sit here and have our own conversations, but the clients are such an important part of creating the conditions of our industry, of creating the narrative of our industry, that without them, it's like we're talking to ourselves.
Okay. Piyush, you yourself have said winning awards doesn't get you clients. What is your view on awards currently?
Number one to me is winning the awards on the street. And I've said it to you earlier also. When somebody says, hey, is that your work? Is that your work?
Yeah.
And awards is for your industry to attract more people. And it is like a reception that you have at your house once a year. Which should look nice, but end of the day, you eat nice food at home, which makes you feel good. I think that's the difference. Yes, I will go to that awards is not the be-all and end-all of life.
But they're important, like a
They're
reception
important.
after a...
They're just markers of our reputation, our creative reputation.
So, Devika, final question for you. What's the one thing that the advertising industry, not just Ogilvy, should be paying attention to, but isn't paying attention to?
You know, I'm going to answer this in its sort of simplest way to say, can we please remember we're in the business of ideas?
Not technology, not AI, not...
I think these are all tools, and they're very important tools. But the minute we forget that the value we bring, you know, any industry has to figure out the value that it brings to it, to, you know, whoever its client base is. The value that we bring is the ideas that will have an impact on our client's business, that will have an impact, you know, on society. If there's an ESG angle to it, that will have an impact on consumers' lives, that the idea can actually do something to change a consumer's life, right? I feel like we get so distracted with all the different tools that we have that we forget. Yeah. So
in fact, you can talk about the Shah Rukh Khan, not just a Cadbury ad.
Yeah, it's when it used AI before we were talking about AI at the dinner table.
But the idea is
But it was an idea.
The idea is that we must do something for the small retailer.
And we get the biggest person to do something for the smallest person.
And
That's
then
an
use
idea.
technology to take it there.
Devika and Piyush, thank you for talking to us.
Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Sir.
Sukesh.
Thank you.
And thank you all.
And with that, it's a wrap on this episode. You can follow Melt on social media. The handle is Ready to Melt, or simply log on to readytomelt.com. If you'd like to follow me, I'm at Suvenk on X, formerly known as Twitter. Till next week, goodbye and thanks for watching.